Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pre-Market News and Views by In The Money Stocks. Today is Wednesday, June 20th, 2012. There's a lot going on in the markets today, so let's jump right into the S&P 500 E-mini futures. You will see that the futures are trading higher by 2.25 points today to 1352.50. So a decent little move. Markets are trading slightly higher on the day after really some shuffling around in the morning, making some ground up to the upside. Now, the Federal Reserve, or the FOMC meeting, I should say, is going to conclude this afternoon at 12 o'clock. An announcement will be made at 12:30 regarding the interest rate policy in the United States, and many investors and traders are waiting to see if the Fed is going to implement another quantitative easing policy. Now, it's rumored that the Fed will extend their Operation Twist that they currently are operating, and we'll see if that will help the markets, or if they come out with another type of quantitative easing to try and lift the markets. But the markets have had a pretty good bounce now for about 3 weeks, rallying higher. More risk taking has been going on really in the United States and in Europe for the most part. So we'll see where we do, what this market does after the Fed announcement. Now, a couple of other things to go over before the Fed announcement even begins today. One of the first things that you want to take note of is really gold and oil. And first thing you notice today, gold is down $19 to $16.04. So pretty good little decline on gold. If you take a look at the GLD this morning, you'll see it trading down at 155.54. Closed yesterday at 157.16. So that's a pretty decent decline on gold to start the day. Oil, not so bad. Oil is positive by 13 cents on spot price of light sweet crude at 84.16. If you take a look at the USO, you're going to see here that the USO is trading around the 31.67 level, closed at 31.68. So basically flat from yesterday's close, and oil is holding steady. The US dollar index this morning is trading lower by about 10 cents. It's not that big of a decline, but the US dollar index is trading lower by about 10 cents at the moment. So a little bit of a slip there. And the dollar, usually when the dollar's down slightly, the market will be up slightly, and that is the case this morning as you have futures higher by 2 points. But we have to keep our eye on gold. Gold will tell us a lot. If the Fed does implement a quantitative easing, expect gold to run. Gold will be a runner if the Fed does implement a quantitative easing. If the Fed implements just another extension of Operation Twist, which means they're going to buy they're going to sell short-term treasuries and buy the long-term treasuries, then maybe gold gets a little bit of a bounce, but I don't think it would be anything drastic. A lot of the Operation Twist extension, if that does happen, is already factored into the market as well. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what exactly goes on and how the markets react once this news is released a little bit later. Now, some news out of Europe today. It looks like Greek leaders have supposedly formed this coalition government. We'll see how that plays out, but again, I don't want to take too much or derive too much from it. Right now, the markets are really just on the flat line for the most part today, so we don't want to take too much out of that. But either way, it looks like Greece does have some form of a government, at least temporarily, at the moment. So we'll see where that takes us and how that plays out. If you look at the European markets this morning, Spain is trading up 0.4%. Italy's having a good day, up 1.4%. German DAX is flat. CAC 40 is flat. And the London FTSE, which is England, can always print their own currency. They use the pound. They're up 0.5%. So markets are generally kind of quiet here ahead of the Federal Reserve meeting, and we'll just have to see how this market all plays out and shakes out, and we'll see what it gives us going forward. But right now, everybody's on hold or on pause until that Fed announcement. That announcement will be at 12:30 today, and then at 2:30, Ben Bernanke will hold a press conference. So that's kind of how it works each and every quarter. And today is one of those days, I believe, where the Fed will release the statement early and then give a press conference afterwards. All right, let's take a look at some stocks out there in the news. First stock we're going to talk about today is Procter & Gamble. It looks like Procter & Gamble is selling off a little bit today, catching a little bit of a rebound here. So you got to be a little bit careful. If Procter & Gamble takes out the $61 level, that's where traders should get real concerned, because the stock could trade down as low, I would say, as 57, 56. There's a lot of support at 56, a lot of support at 53.20. But right now, the stock looks like it's trading right around 61 bucks. So until it takes out that 61 intraday, then I think traders have to look a little bit lower. You'll have some minor support even at 58.82, and then you have to really look down at that 57.50 level. That's going to be a big support level, then $56. So Procter & Gamble could get some bounces here, but the stock does look rather weak at the moment, and it's a decent gap down. Procter & Gamble usually doesn't fluctuate that much, so I'm not sure we'll see these downside levels, but nonetheless it could happen today, especially if the market does get weak. Let's take a look at Adobe Systems, ticker symbol ADBE. Everybody knows this stock. Adobe is getting smashed today. The stock also is coming down on a strong gap lower. So Adobe right now trading at $30.85. It's a pretty good decline here for Adobe. I don't think there's all that much to do until the stock gets to around 29 bucks. 29 I think is going to be a good level. You'll have some short-term support around $30 or $29.85, but 29 even number. It looks like a pretty decent level, at least to me at the moment. Let me just see if I have any other levels in my calculations here. Just bear with me. Yeah, those are going to be the levels right now. It's going to be probably $29. Breaks through there, $27.30, and then $25.70. So those are going to be your levels for Adobe. But it is a strong gap down with a weak market. Those levels can get hit. If the market is strong today, then probably not. Adobe probably won't do that poorly, but it is down quite a bit from yesterday's close. So here are the levels again, just to repeat them to everybody. $29. It may even be $28.75, depending on how the market plays out. And then it's all the way down to $27.30 and then $25.70. Look for bounces on each of those levels. Let's take a look at Tesla Motors. Normally this is generally a pretty light volume name, so I don't really do too much with it, but nonetheless, this is a pretty good gap up this morning. Stock's trading at $33.75, closed yesterday at $32.09. I think what traders got to do is watch that this stock is now in overbought territory. Be a little bit on the cautious side with this one. It looks like the $35 level is going to be the big resistance point. After that, it would be all the way up to $36.70. But Tesla is a weak gap up, which means that it could be a fade candidate around those levels. $34.95 and $36.70 are the two resistance points that I see, and ultimately double top around 40 bucks. But I'm not sure what the news is out on that stock. But it's had a good move, but this just doesn't look like it could go up all that much more before a pullback. Nice move though, but it probably needs a pullback around these areas. So watch those two levels, $34.96 and $36.70, and then ultimately around 40 bucks. I think you could see pullbacks at all three levels. Let's take a look at Idenix Pharmaceuticals. This stock is gapping up today as well. Decent little pop. The gap is kind of neutral. It's not that strong, not that weak. I think traders should watch the 11.25 level for resistance, and then 12.17, two resistance points right there. This is another one that looks a little bit overbought up here, but nonetheless, it's coming into very good resistance levels. I'm not sure what the news is, but I would expect pullbacks from the 11.25 and 12.18 levels. So if it does get up there, watch for a little bit of a pullback. Here's another one I saw moving. I've never traded this before in my life, but GEVO, this Gevo Inc. This is a pretty strong gap up this morning, trading around $7. You can see here. The stock has a big wall of resistance at $8. Decent resistance where it is now at $7. But watch that one closely. It's a strong gap up, so it could go higher. So just realize that stock could go higher today because it is a strong gap up. but $8 should be a wall, and then it's 883, another big resistance level. So watch all these levels here. 7 is going to be some resistance, but with a strong gap like this, you never know if it could get through there. You got to look at $8.05. That's a better level, and then 883. That would be the next level, and then all the way up to 969. Hey, you never know how these things can run. I don't know the stock, I don't know the news, but I will say this much: it's a strong gap up, so you want to respect it. Okay, that's pretty much all I have on the charts today. It looks a little bit like it's a lighter volume day out there. Probably the markets will be sideways, somewhat quiet until the Fed announcement. And again, that is a 12:30 announcement by the FOMC. So Ben Bernanke will be making his statement, just a brief statement at that time, and then a press conference at 2 p.m. With that said, everybody, I want to wish you all a great trading day, and I will see you on the charts tomorrow morning. Take care now.